Welcome to everybody. This is the second installment of Raging with Ryu. I'm very honored today to speak with Sharon Bruneau, one of the probably all-time greats from that era, most photographed female ever, I think, in the industry. I would like to start just with I'm honored to say I now own the poster, one of the famous posters,
Yay!
the Sandy Bottom photo.
You're the one that ordered.
I'm wondering if you would share with everybody the story behind that photo and how that came about. What was actually, I know you had explained it to me when I ordered it, but how
that poster came about.
The photographer's instructions that day. And
oh well, a lot of mayhem. We do beach shoots. I just posted a picture actually of a beach shoot this morning, and there's no cameras, there's no structure. You're just out there, and it's a lot of fun to be out. And I actually, for that one, I was working with Shelley Beatty, and the photographer was Jim Mentler for Muscle Mag International, and that was in 1992 or 91. I think it was either 91 or 92. But anyway, that was pre-Weeder contracts. I was able to shoot for Muscle Mag and down at Venice Beach and just having a blast, and shot all morning. We took a break and we're just sitting around and having some lunch and hydrating. And Jim wanted to get started again. So I stood up to walk towards the ocean because I just felt, had sand all over my butt and my legs, thinking I got to clean that off. And as I started walking toward the water, I heard, "Stop, just stay there." And the reason why I looked over my shoulder was like, "What? Like, what? Huh?" And shot the photo, and ended up being the best of that series. Who knew, right? Here I am posing and everything else, thinking I'm all hot. And it was just a, random, opportunity, I guess, for the photographer. But that's how that came about. And I was told you should make a post. And I thought, really? I don't think it's that great a shot, And I mean, it's still one of my best. Still, I thought I sold out of that poster, but apparently not, because my parents had a roll.
Nice.
In their home. And so after they passed away, I was going through their things and cleaning up, and I found it, and I thought, oh my God, they just won't go away. Anyway, so
It definitely an iconic image from that era.
Isn't that funny? And who would have thought? I still look at the thing. All right, I guess it's just a simple moment, but anyway, it worked out just fine.
How it gets captured, just somebody else's vision, and it's like, this is epic. Now this is going to be.
Well, I can still feel the sand in my toes. I mean, looking at that, it just like instant takes me right back, and it was like yesterday, and now it's a memory of 30 years ago. Isn't that crazy? Yeah.
It is. It's I think on your Instagram, the picture of Manhattan Beach one, where it was like, you can just looking at the picture, how cold it must have been. I'm like,
it was cold. Notice I'm not smiling.
Everybody thinks
somebody had asked me actually, what was going through your mind? I said, just take the freaking picture. I'm freezing, I'm trying to look old.
It's so glamorous. Hard work that goes into it must be just insane.
But it's still fun, right? I mean, it's always a blessing to have that opportunity to shoot for the publications. I mean, the day to be in or on, in the publications or on the covers, it was a great honor.
Oh,
there's a lot of athletes, and to get featured. So yeah, if I got the call in the middle of October saying, "Hey, I need some beach shots," and since you live in California, get down to the beach and get me some pics. That's Robert Kennedy. Absolutely.
I kind of one of the other things I was going to ask you was similar to that about the magazines and everything. What is your take on how things have changed from then till now? It used to be everybody wanted to be in the magazines, and if you got there, that was like the big time. And now it's just like, I think there's one or two small publications left, and everything is social media now. Take on that. Is that,
Well,
Is
like video killed the radio way back in the day,
right.
right? Internet killed the publications. All publications
Yep.
really suffered from the transition. And you're right. I mean, in the 80s and 90s, the 70s, even, and the early part of the 2000s, it, there were so many athletes that wanted to be on the cover, obviously to be on the cover in the publications, and myself, even before turning pro, people couldn't wait for the next issue to come out on the newsstands. Who's in it, who's got, and look for your favorites, or for the read, and so forth. And oh yeah, and I still have people saying, I remember that magazine, and if I post one, right, and it's like, oh, I couldn't wait for them to come out. And it was fun, and it was just a different era, obviously.
Hmm.
And the sport alone has grown. There are so many divisions now in our iron sport. It's not
Right.
just bodybuilding, as you know. There's figure, bikini, wellness, physique. It goes on and on. I think there's a new one now coming this year at the Olympia. Anyway, and with the internet, there's so many IFBB, and it's not just IFBB Pro anymore. It's IFBB Amateur now too,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And it's still a big deal. Don't get me wrong. I mean, everyone's, if that's your pursuit and your passion, like it was mine and so many others, it's a big deal to get that IFBB Pro card, right? Or a card now, apparently. But it's just, to me, it's so saturated. It is so saturated that, Joe Weider made stars. Robert Kennedy made stars. Jim Balick made stars, right, in their publications. Because there was only so many of the athletes on stage, or that you find in the publications.
Yep.
I had a similar conversation with my parents, when I was a little girl, and they would say, no, not little, as a teenager, early 20s, and they would talk about old Hollywood. And in the day, there was only a handful of A-list actors, right? It was a big deal to go to the theater, and there might have been only 3 or 4 major flicks that came out. So you saw them over and over until next year something else came, right? So it kind of takes me back to that. And then now there's so many actors, of movie stars and TV stars and internet stars, and now we've got streaming Netflix and Disney and so forth.
Yep.
Same goes for our industry. There's so many fabulous and amazing athletes that get a platform now, because it was hard to get a pro card. It was tough. There was only so many pro qualifiers per year.
Yeah, I think that was
Like 4 new pros per year, something like that.
yeah, it
Right?
was a recent topic of conversation was that it was like you had like 4, like you were saying, 4 chances to turn pro every year, and like people like Matt Mendenhall and people that didn't get it and then ended up retiring. But now it's like you've
And a
got
lot of people tried over and over again, over and over, to get that pro card so they can step on the Olympia stage, or the Arnold's Expo, the Internationals, the Arnold's Classics was called in my day. But it was such an honor. It was like making it to the Olympics. You're part of the, you're representing Canada or the U.S. It was a big deal, and it still is a big deal. I take nothing away from today's athletes, because it's still hard work to get there. and I admire everyone that steps on a stage. I know too well, right? It's hard work and great dedication and willpower. But it's just, now there's so many that there's not real, there really isn't any stars. Like,
no.
that you just know by name, right? By, like Cher or Madonna, or, whatever, or Lee or Corey or Rachel, or, Sean or Tanya, when you go through those, Linda, unless you really follow the sport, like truly, truly follow the sport, it's hard to keep up, and it's nice that there's not always the same winner every year. So I like that, a lot more people have a chance, and it depends. I'm not saying that, that sounded bad. Let me retract that. Because there's so many shows, there are a lot of like winners out, let's put it that way, that I don't even know who's who anymore. I'm starting to work with a fitness production again, and I got to learn, really do my homework, because there's a lot of amazing champions out there. But yeah, it's just a whole new, big, different world. And it's still exciting. It's just a lot to follow.
I think Lee Priest was talking about that. He's like, because it was such a big deal to be a pro, that now
Yeah.
you have people, that's their Instagram handle. It's like so and so IFBB pro, and you're like,
Oh,
I've
yeah.
never heard of you. What did you win, and where did you qualify? And it's
Well, and this is, and go and on that, just to add to that, none of us, I can't remember um, any of us having to say, I'm Sharon Bruneau, IFBB Pro.
right.
I'm, Aaron Baker, IFBB Pro. We can go down the list, right?
Yep.
And it's interesting that now everybody, like the new generations, so to speak, IFBB Pro, so and so, IFBB Pro, so and so, and they're proud and they should be, right?
Yeah.
But it's interesting that we never went by IFBB Pro, they knew we were.
That's, I think, again, that's, I mean, if you know who some of them are, you can follow them on Instagram or their
Yeah.
social media site. But for me, it was when it started to make the transition to online, it was nice to not have to wait a month to find
Well, there
out
you go, right?
that was out content. But still, I couldn't wait until the next month came out to go buy Flex or Muscle Fitness or Muscle Mag and find out who was training what and who was where, just to
Yeah.
see new features. But it
Now it's immediate.
yeah. I
I
mean,
mean, everybody, they know what we do. Well, it's, we post everything nowadays, right? And so they know what we eat and where we go shopping and our last vacation and where we walk our dogs.
like you were saying, there's so many now. I stopped following women's bodybuilding somewhat, like the Miss Olympia, when they started to make the transition and Joe kind of pulled back, and it was like when the criteria was okay, we need to downsize the women because they're getting too big, and I stopped following it probably about when Kim was winning her titles.
Mhm.
And now it's like I started to get more back into it, watching like the women's physique with Sarah Viegas and Missy Truscott with the fitness, and Oksana Kushina, but I couldn't tell you who the current Miss Olympia is, and
Yeah.
who the stars are in that division now, because it just got too big for me.
Yeah.
In which is kind of another question, whether you want to answer it or get into it. It's kind of a multi-part question.
Here we go.
One of my coaches was very good friends with Dan Duchesne, and in one of
Oh
his
my
things,
gosh.
his
That's a name from the past. Wow.
mentioned a few times, he's like, there was never a shortage of willing lab rats in some of the female bodybuilders who would go to Dan for advice and for the
Oh,
protocols,
yeah.
and unfortunately, a lot of women were ruined from that.
Mm.
And I guess part of me was that wondering if when that started to get so big, when you had to be that massive, if that's what kind of made you go from bodybuilding into fitness and pulling out of that. Like a lot of women were like really didn't want to be having to take what they were going to have to take.
Well, and that is a subject, it's brought up, it had been over the years, right? At seminars, and I can only speak for myself. And where what I love about bodybuilding is everybody's different. It's about the body. So we take what we have
Right.
and you take it as far as you can. Like for me, I'm 5'9". I'm very tall. I'm native, so I've got
Right.
the long abs, the long glutes, I'm very long. So it took a lot for me to put the weight on. And if anybody that had been on my journey from the beginning knows I worked just as hard as every other girl on that stage.
Yeah.
And I took it to as far as I wanted to. And I just I mean, I am grateful for what bodybuilding had created for me, my journey. It was amazing. I met so many wonderful people, and the competitions were hard work, but a blast. Loved fun. All of us together backstage as a camaraderie, and we all we all deserve to be there. But everyone's different. That's what I love about it. I'm an artist in the sense that I'll still look at people today, and if I see like somebody in shape, or I just look at bodies. I just find them so interesting. The shape, the dimensions, the proportions, everything. But I went as far as I could, and if I wanted to pursue to feel like I want to be at least in the top 5, I want to win that show, I would have to step over the line and take it to a level where I wouldn't be comfortable with, because then it's not Sharon. I got into it to be, muscular and sexy and feminine. Like, take my physique. Rachel McClish and Corey were my inspirations, right? When you look at them, you don't think, oh my God, they just took it too far, But and then there are women that just put the size on like that because of their height, and they might be stockier. For me, and Corey can tell you the same, it took a lot of work to compare to someone shorter than us, right? Because they look stockier and thicker and everything else. But yeah, I just felt that I've achieved what I could from the sport as a competitor, but Joe Weider did keep me under contract for the seminars and workshops and for the photo shoots. So I stayed in shape for those. But for those who came along after me, I mean, any sport just gets better and better. And, not just more muscular, more size, but you look at your gymnasts who are doing flips. You would never think a human could do. Now you look at Nadia Comaneci, and I remember watching her when I was a little girl. I remember watching on TV the Olympics, thinking, "Oh my God, that's wow!" And now, and she's still amazing. But what they're doing from Nadia's day, I mean, you can look at any sport, right? How it just advances and evolves. So I didn't leave because of drugs. I didn't leave because I thought they were like judging them too big, I mean, it's a physique show. It's a physique competition. So whoever shows up, no matter what your height or width, width helps, but you know what I mean? Like height or whatever. It's like, it's what you bring to the table, and that's your conditioning, your symmetry, your, how healthy do they look, right? The tightness. I mean, it comes down to a science. And people, when it flips through the magazines, they don't realize just how much is involved, not just through the training, but the diet and everything else that's involved. And so I appreciate what I was able to get from it. My problem was I kept imploding. When I turned pro, the North Americans, when I turned pro, I wasn't in my head because I was on the fence of competing anymore. I thought, if I win, I'll stay in. If I don't, bye. I kind of started burning out then, right? And so when I won, of course, the contracts came and everything else. But then I moved to California, and I had everyone's a pro, right? Well, you got to do this. You can't do that. Stop doing that. You should have done this. You got to go do it. So now my head's like, and I should have went back to Canada each year just to be by myself and do what I did for the North Americans. But I kept imploding. it was I couldn't take it, and anyway, and that's just a me issue, and I wish I had, later I had Charles training me, and that's why I wanted to hook up with him, just have someone there to say, hey, I got this, get out of your head. And plus I learned so much more from him anyway. I thought I knew everything, but God, that guy's a genius. But, but yeah, so, and also in the 90s, any of the girls can tell you, one year it's like, okay, we're judging for smaller girls. And then they pull us backstage, and the judges would usually come up to us and talk to us and say, well, you need to do this, you got to do that, which I loved, right? And it's always, Sharon, you got to put on more size. And I'm thinking, but I thought they were saying the girls, they wanted them smaller. And then it's like, oh, yeah. I mean, it was always up and down. There was just no solid, outline. So, yeah, I mean, no, I didn't want to get bigger. And 2, I just felt like I had my time. And like I had mentioned earlier, if I wanted to evolve, I could have, but I didn't want to go that far. That's not why I got into, not to be the biggest one. I just wanted to be one of the best ones, if that makes sense.
You definitely did that.
Okay.
You did great. I mean, you still one of the most iconic of that era. I still, this is
Well,
like a handful, and you're one of the top three for me in that era. You just,
thank you so much. I mean,
you
seriously, I'm so honored. And when people say that, and, I was one of their, I always thought, yeah, and this is why I tell people, you don't always have to win a show to be one of the tops. Yeah,
Mhm.
it would have been awesome to win an Olympia. I mean, I admire the girls that got that title, right? Because that was my sport, or a Miss International, or a Miss World, or a Miss. It's always nice to get the first place, right? But you don't always have to win that show because it's how you use your platform
Yep,
and market your product, right?
absolutely.
Um, this is your business. So, all right, darn it, I didn't get that first or second or third, but I'm in a position where I'm receiving a lot of exposure, stay in shape,
Mhm.
do well at the other components of the sport, like those seminars and workshops,
Yep,
and always be kind. Always be kind.
absolutely. That's
Right?
yeah.
Yeah.
It's nice to be important, but it's more important to be kind, as The Rock said.
I love that saying. Absolutely, right? And it's so true.
It does.
Yeah.
Um, Actually, speaking of Charles, I hear he still shows up every day at Gold's Venice.
That guy is a machine. He's a freak.
I
He's
kicked him.
still, what is Charlie? He's up in his 70s. I know that. I don't know his age. And if I don't know. I don't know his age. You can probably Google it, but he's up there. And I just saw him at Gold's Venice, in September. And I mean, and he's always so modest. If you ever seen him at Gold's Gym, those of you that know that I'm talking about, been to Gold's or see photos of him, he's always got his big sweatshirts on, and always, he's training people. He's very professional, but underneath those big baggy clothes, he's still lean and mean. He's like Robbie Robinson. They can step on stage and compete today if they wanted to. So no
Yeah,
excuses.
absolutely. Robbie's like
He's a
70.
freak of nature. Yeah,
He's
and he
still.
knows his stuff.
Yep. The,
Yeah.
one of the things I was wondering too, I've was telling my coach that I kick myself daily for never taking that time in my youth and going, all right, I'm just going to go out there. I mean, I'm never going to be a pro bodybuilder in my day, but just to go and experience it. Never went and did it, and now I was saying maybe I'll still do a pilgrimage, and he was like, dude, you would be so disappointed. It's to have been there in the late '80s into the '90s was just amazing to see, like the who's who of bodybuilding. You walk in the door and you've got like three Mr. Olympias training. You've got Magic Johnson over on the leg press. You've got James Caan over here, and nobody has an attitude. They're
Yeah.
the celebrities are like, okay, I'm in your arena, and you guys are the ones that impressed me. I can't imagine what that must have been like. And I was going to ask you, what going back for your Muscle Beach induction, what is it night and day from when you were there before? Or?
It is just bittersweet, right? There's still a few of the old school, the golden day family. Always fun to see when I do go back to a Gold's Gym. But like when I first, because I started in Canada, and years ago, I was preparing because I just, I just kept winning, or placing second. But I didn't always go back to win a show. Like on my climb up, as an amateur, my first one, well, there's only three of us on stage, those very first shows, right? So I win that. I'm like, cool. Going to the next, I place second. The next one I place second. The next one I place second. So I just kept going. And I'm getting close. And for the Canadian Nationals, I was really muscular, like very large. And I'm thinking, I like being a girl. I mean, I'm tall, right? So like a tall, big person, like you could stand out. And we wear our sport,
Oh, absolutely.
like we wear our work everywhere. So, apparently people, and this is 89, 90, right? People look at me like, whoa. I thought, oh, ooh. I don't know if I like that attention. And people in Vancouver were like, oh, well, you got a long ways to go, Bruno. I know Corey Everson, and she's Miss Olympia, and she's huge. Like you're way, you got a lot, so much. And I'm thinking, wow, because you don't know when you just see them in publications, right? you know, they're in shape and they're muscular and that, but you don't see them standing next to the average person. So I'm
Exactly.
thinking, oh my God, well, if I have to get bigger, nah. That's why the North Americans, I was on the fence. But like, you know, screw it. You know, I'm so close to California, just drove over, made a vacay, you know, this is back in 90, I want to say 1990, or maybe just before the North Americans. I can't remember. It's around that time. And I walk into Gold's Gym. Now, this is like, wow, I'm in Gold's Gym. Just like you, right? Like, holy, I mean, the golden high, you know, you step through the doors and
Absolutely.
absolutely. And that's when I first met Don Ross, who's now, you know, sadly he's passed away years ago. But
Yep.
I first meet Paul Dillette and Aaron Baker and, you know, like you. And I see some of the girls, like Jackie Paisley was walking around. I'm thinking, and she was amazing. She's an amazing competitor, super lean, always ripped. Like one of the first women to really dial in, just be so sinewy and ripped, right? But she wasn't huge, you know. So that's what I started. Like, no, I'm right on track. Anyway, yes, to work out at Gold's Gym every day, you have, like you said, it's just a mixture. It's so eclectic. It, you know, like you said, you got actors and the bodybuilders and the wrestlers and NBA, NFL, Nadia Comaneci, speaking of, you know, producers and supermodels. And you're right, everyone is in the same arena, and it was like one big family. We're all there for the same reason, and it was to get fit and look good. And it was a joy. It was a huge family and very supportive, right? And then we all walk over to the firehouse. So it was magical. It was an amazing time to be in, and I didn't realize it then,
Yep.
right? And so now when I look back and I walk in, it's not the same vibe, and a lot of, you know, a few of the names that we mentioned are now sadly gone,
Yep.
passed away, right? And or a lot of, you know, the athletes just moved or just don't go to Gold's Gym Venice. And of course, now after COVID, you know, most places aren't the same. But
Right.
yeah, different vibe, different owners. You see a few faces here and there if you go at the right time of day. But yeah, nothing like it was. Nothing like it was, but it was the Mecca. Absolutely.
That's exactly what John was saying. He goes, I wish that I had thought about how it would change, because you thought it was just going to be that way forever.
Yeah.
And now it's like, oh
Yeah.
wow, dude, I wish I'd enjoyed it more.
Yeah. I used to complain, God, I have to go train. Charles is going to kick my ass at 4 a.m, right? Oh
Oh,
my
yeah.
Lord. But now, yeah. Oh man, those were the days.
I can
Kind
just
of like
imagine.
my mom and dad. Those were the days.
Oh, it's amazing how quick time goes. I'm like, oh yeah, I remember this. I'm like, that's 40 years ago. Oh my God. I'm like, where did the time go?
Yeah, I know. Scary.
It is. Couple final thoughts. It's kind of a rapid fire thing, just
Sure.
top of your head. Who was the most important mentor in the industry for you?
In the entire industry, mentor. Oh man, that's tough because there's so many. But you know, off a mentor, it's still Joe Weider.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I hear a lot of people say that.
absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, Richie Gaspari talks about that a lot too.
Mhm.
The big reason I didn't sign with WBF and I stayed with him.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's
Joe loved the sport. He loved his athletes, and you know, even when I went to retire, um, you know, from competition, and I walked in to see, you know, I'd go see Joe once a week at least, up at the Weider offices in Woodland Hills, and I said to Joe, I was like, Joe, I'm sorry, I haven't been winning because I'm under contract. I always felt guilty. I'm like, I'm placing in the top 5, right? And I said, Joe, just call him Papa. I'm sorry, I'm not placing. And, you know, maybe it's time that I stepped off the stage. But I still like to stay with the family. I mean, you know, I told him I'll stay in shape, and I love the seminars and the workshops because I've got booked a lot. And he looked at me, he goes, I don't care if you tap dance, just stay in shape. He goes, it's okay if you want to, this is his words. It's okay if you want to get small like Rachel, you know, just stay fit because there's a lot of beautiful women in this world. But what makes you and the other girls here unique is your body.
Yep.
You know, your muscularity and purport, you know, just what you present in health and fitness. And yeah, he kept me under for a long while, but we had a long conversation. He goes, I put people under contract for various reasons. It's not always because they want to show. He goes, obviously you have to be a competitor and competing and so forth. He says, but he did have, if you look at his roster, he had big and small, short and tall, black and white, didn't matter, because everyone's got their own personality and they brought something to the table. We each brought something to the Weeder table. So, and I'd have long conversations with Joe. I cherished, just about the industry and how to move forward. And he told me how Arnold moved forward and everything else. And those were great stories. But you just take, like I said earlier, you take what you have, your business, and you got to use your platform while you're hot. You can't wait around. You just got to use it. But yeah, we had great, yeah, he would, yeah, definitely mentoring for many, 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 big Joe, Papa Joe.
Nice. What would you consider the biggest accomplishment in your career?
My induction into the Muscle Beach Hall of Fame. That is my favorite. I am grateful that I got the contract with Joe Weeder. Would have to be like a close second, if not even with the Muscle Beach. I mean, seriously, right? And I never expected either one of them. I didn't expect either one of them. So it makes it even more, cherishable to me. I'm still honored. Thank you, Joe Wheatley. I'm immortalized with all, with the, so many icons at Muscle Beach forever. Yeah, I would have to say that one. I mean, I got a plaque at Muscle Beach.
I'm mad, immortalized now.
Right. No, it's just, I remember I went for Linda's and Joe's and, a few of the athletes I went to sport, and I was just there for Bill Dobbins and Manny Perry's. But I mean, prior to that, I thought, wow, that's so cool. And they're like the Olympians or like the icons, like Tom Platz or whatever,
Yep.
So when I got the call, I thought, me? Like me? Thank you. You sure it's not a mistake? It's such an honor. Yeah. Still thrilled. Can you tell?
It's a mainstay in the industry that it was like, yeah, I look back through some of my old I'm like, she was in this issue, she was in that issue, she was like everywhere. You just
very fortunate. Yeah.
If you had to say, hopefully you don't have many, what would be the biggest regret in your career life?
In my career, maybe not going for one or two more competitions. Mm-hmm. I regret the fact that, I had like connections I could have gone. I kept imploding, as I said earlier. I regret that I didn't get that under control, because I would always look my best either just before or just after. I'm not saying I would have won, absolutely not. But I think I regret not at least trying a couple of more just to dial in like I did at the North Americans. And I don't know. I mean, there's so many things I wish I can go back for, like in life in general, right? Yeah, I don't know.
It makes sense, though. Everybody wants that one last show just to see what they could have done. That makes sense.
Yeah, like take advantage of, connections and opportunities around you. I kept going the wrong way. I kept choosing the wrong door. Then I look back, like, why didn't I just go talk to him, or should have asked her, or whatever, exactly. Kind of situations. You kind of look back, it's like shoulda, coulda, woulda, but I still, I wouldn't change, I guess, anything, because I truly blessed. I had a wonderful journey. Yeah. I mean, I can't complain. What's to complain about?
Exactly.
Yeah. So that's a hard question. I don't know.
It's a good answer, though.
Okay, we'll go with
that. Maybe the last one. How would you like to be remembered by the industry or your fans when you're gone many, many years from now? What do you want people to remember about you?
And that's something Robert Kennedy, the late Robert Kennedy, and I talked about, long before he passed away. we're working together at in Miami Beach. He had me hosting a bunch of his videos, and I always said, I want to leave a legacy that I was known to be kind. Just want to be kind. If I can help, if I can share in any way that I can, because we all go through stuff. Been through hell myself, for a few years. And I always remember when I was in my dark time of life, those that were so kind and that shared the time with me, it has just left such an impression on me and forever will. And I just want to leave that, if I can make someone like a small difference for somebody, I just want to be remembered as a kind person, someone who cares.
That's awesome. I love that. That's awesome.
Thank you. Important.
And I want to wish you luck. If you were talking about the new platform you're going to be endeavoring with in the industry.
There's a few things I'll start making announcements. I did announce a while ago I was going to start my YouTube channel, and there's been some glitches again, but we're going to start shooting some workout segments. So we're going to get everything rolling. So now, the winter months are coming, and everything's slowing down as far as travel. So I'll get back into the studio and bring those out. And so, yeah, keep watch. There's some things are going to be happening. We'll be announcing.
Definitely plug that if I see it.
Keep y'all in tune.
Definitely make sure everybody goes to Sharon's Instagram and her Facebook and keeps an eye for that.
Absolutely.
Still a legend in the industry. So.
Well, you're so kind. Thank you so much.
Again, very honored that you would be on my podcast. I appreciate that.
Oh, sure. Good luck with your podcast.
Thank
Everyone's
you.
got to tune in, go to your Facebook and your Instagram. Bill Heron. Absolutely.
Definitely be hyping it up, and I'll be this will probably be they review everything, so it probably won't be till like Monday maybe this gets broadcast, but I'll definitely be hyping the heck out of it. And
super. Well, whatever I can do, absolutely.
I appreciate it very much.
And thanks again for buying my poster.
Oh, so everybody, again, check out her social media and send lots of love and support. And hopefully I'll be talking to you soon.
We shall. Take care, my dear. Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Take care, guys. And thank you very much. I definitely appreciate that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So is this your first?
My first one was with my coach. Well, the first one was with my coach, John Romano, and I'd asked his friend, Dave Palumbo, I'm like, can you just kind of watch it and tell me what you think? And he's like, I watched a little bit of it, and he goes, you need to be more, more talking. He goes, I know, John, so he's like your coach. He's going to be more. It was almost like he was interviewing you. You need to be more informative and ask more questions and engage your guest more.
Just ask questions. I mean, with me, I'm an easy interview because I love to talk. So no ambitions here, but just ask questions.
So
keep them talking.
I said, I'm going to try to do the same thing with Lee. His schedule is crazy because he's got his league Haney games coming up early part of next month. So I'm like, he's like, we'll shoot for this week or next week. I'm like, whatever you can do, Lee, you let me.
He's a busy man. So you talk about kindness. Oh my God, the biggest heart and a strong faith. Talk about his faith and how he implemented that into his career and what he's doing now. That's how I get him rolling into conversation. Absolutely. Yeah.
So I mean, once he just stayed on the phone forever when he called me, I'm just like, I thought he was just going to be like, hey, thanks for.
He's so kind.
Oh, it was crazy. And then he checked in with my wife while I was in the hospital. He's like, how's my doing? Like, this 8-time Mr. Olympia, probably one of the goats of his sport, is checking on me, asking my wife how I am. That's just amazing.
Yeah.
I was very, very moved. He's
you're a human being, he cares. He does.
Yep.
I mean, a lot of people really, because he's old school. So of course, and he was just before my time too. It was he and Corey. And then when I entered, it was Dorian and Linda,
Yeah.
right? I got to meet Lee a few times, but when he's just a class, you don't make them like Lee Haney
Oh, absolutely.
anymore and or ever. I think he's like the only one, just
He's
an
a
amazing
one of a
spirit.
kind
Yeah,
guy.
sweetheart.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, my dear, I'm going to go. Thank you so much. If
Thank you.
anything you need, give me a ding.
I will do that,
Okay.
and we'll talk soon.
Okay, sweetie. Take care.
Bye bye. Okay, how do we do this now? Oh shit.